What's going on, guys, and welcome back. We have a brand new season for Marvel Snap for the month of August, and it's Young Avengers led by Kate Bishop. Alex and I are going to, of course, break down all the cards and talk about which ones you don't want to miss out and save up your tokens for, as well as all the synergies, combinations, and our star ratings. We also had Deadpool's Diner, Cassandra Nova, big week in Marvel Snap. I went to San Diego Comic-Con, Conqueror's event, and more, and we're going to talk about that all today on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I am joined by the one and only Mr. Alex Coccia. We're coming fresh off Deadpool's Diner, Cassandra Nova. We had Marvel Snap Conquerors that we hosted together. And now it's a brand new season, man, for Snap. This is fun. This is chaos.
It's actually been so chaotic over the last couple of weeks, and it's only set to continue here. We have alliances coming out. We've got a ton of new cards to talk about, a whole new season ahead of us. And honestly, I've actually changed my tune on a couple of these cards as I've kind of sit back, relaxed, stared into the sun and thought, and I'm excited to discuss them with you today.
Well, dude, I mean, Comic-Con was a once-in-a-lifetime feeling, awesome experience, and Snap has been fun. I actually found myself playing Snap in between, like, panels and just kind of, like, hanging out there on the floor, and it's always cool to see just, like, how many people play the game and interacting with fans and experiences. So that was a good time for sure. But, yeah, this season, at first, the cards I was a little on, but I've definitely come around to some of them and how they're going to work, as a whole. I think there's some really unique synergy that they're trying to pull off. May not happen, but they're trying to pull off. And of course, we're also going to be talking Cassandra and all that good stuff as well. We're going to talk about it more on your side, but just how was your week as a whole, man, start to finish?
My week's been great. Like, it's been super busy, and I've been playing a ton of Snap. Obviously, hosting Conquerors was incredible, and I hope that you guys all enjoyed it as well. It was one of those things where it's like, you know what? It's been such a hectic week, but at the same time, like, I was born for this. Like, I wanted this so much. Like, this was so much fun, and it made me realize how fortunate I am to be in the position I am. And I want to thank every one of you who listen and watch, and I'm sure Cozy feels the same way. Without you guys, like, I don't know. This is so special for us, and I want you guys to know that we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I always feel like it's this so many weeks. Straight line, just chill. And then when it's crazy, it's just like, it's wild. And that's how this week felt. This is one of the busiest weeks of my existence, man, with the new game mode for a game that hasn't had one in a year and a half. Comic-Con, the Conquerors. Rivals came out, so we don't want to, obviously Rivals, very great game, continue to have that great beta success, and then, all the chaos with Alliance. It's just been a lot, and now we have all these Marvel announcements, and the future is looking promising, to say the least. But let's go ahead and jump on in and talk about the new season. But first, what are we talking about over on your side of the Snapchat, Alex?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to be discussing our final rankings for the cards of July 2024. It's one of our favorite topics. We're going to hold ourselves accountable for our ratings and see how they've held up. We'll also be talking about Deadpool's Diner, having an in-depth conversation on our thoughts on Deadpool's Diner, the latest game mode in Marvel Snap, and then, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, let's jump in. We're going to jump on in because this is usually a long episode. We always say this. This is our favorite because we get to do the new season, talk about the last one, and we give kind of our rankings. We put ourselves on the line and try our best to predict cards. And I think actually this month is going to be pretty hard to predict. Last month was hard to predict, as we're going to come to find out. And this month is as well. And we start off with Kate Bishop, Hawkeye Kate Bishop. And very weird art to begin with. Might be a bug. There's like the bow's not drawn, but the arrow's moving. I saw that right away and I was cracking up at that. But you've got yourself a 2-cost, 3-power card. So we already like the stats. On reveal, you're going to add 2 arrows to your hand. And Alex and I will cover those arrows in a second. Some better than others. You have an acid arrow that is going to be, they're all 1-cost cards. Acid arrow is a 1-2. You have a basic arrow that's essentially a Hawkeye. Grapple arrow, that's a cool movement card. And then kind of an Ant-Man arrow. So we'll get to those shortly. Baseline, though, before we jump into her and all that she has to offer, how do you feel about her as a season pass card, Alex?
First of all, I think that this is the card that Nico Monteru kind of paved the way for.
Okay. Yep.
This clearly has some inspiration from Nico, and it's nice. It's cool. I like this, right? I think the card's awesome. I really am looking forward to playing with it. I like the idea that it feels like a card that can go into a number of different archetypes. It's not shoehorned into one specific one. So lower collection level players, new players, or players across any collection level could honestly benefit from having this in their collections, which I think is a really good season pass card as a whole. For me, Cozy, I'm going to go with 4 stars here. I think it's legit. I can see it falling into the 3.5 range because of the random elements, and I wonder about the effectiveness of the actual arrows themselves, but I'm pretty confident that it'll hit around 4 stars.
Yeah, funny enough, we don't, I feel like we not that we disagree, but we have different rankings more often than not. But I actually am pretty lined up with you on this one. I'm going to give it a 4, and it's mainly because of the decks that she obviously works with are very competitive decks. And so right off that, you're going to have that. She is in a very hard slot of the 2 costs, right? A lot of competitive cards to go up against. If you're not elite, you're not going to be played because there's Jeff, there's, White Widow, there's other alternatives. But the decks that she works with are fantastic. She offers variety. Card generation is really good in the game, especially at 2 costs. Getting 2 cards, that's kind of crazy. And so you're going to have a lot of chances to get some crazy synergy with her, and that's kind of where we're going to lead. Now, to understand her, though, and understand the synergy, I want to talk about her arrows that she generates, and on top of that, rank them. I think, we're ranking all the cards. We might as well rank the arrows. Some of these are going to be better than others. But right off the bat, what I like about her, man, is she's a great curve play, right? She's going to be a 2/3. She's going to give you more cards to play as filler cards that you can play when you are going into turn 3, 4, 5, and 6. Plenty of times, especially turn 4. I don't know about you, maybe turn 5. You've got 1 card, but then you're kind of wasting energy at that point. And so I think this is a really cool filler card to do that. And all the cards that she generates are pretty good. Some are not exactly exciting, but they're pretty good. And, I think people like season pass cards that are big difference makers. I don't know if she's like that huge difference maker, but she does offer a lot of utility into a lot of decks, and I think that's going to be exciting and competitive. So let's go ahead and talk about these arrows that she's going to generate. It's only 2, so you're only going to have, you're not going to get these all the time, and that is, it's not problematic because of the nature on how good some of these are. Now, first and foremost, Alex, let's start with what I both would think is the best arrow in the kit, right? And that's going to be the acid arrow. Essentially, it's a green goblin, but better. In fact, I would dare say it's a white widow, but better. In a lot of cases, you have a 1-cost -2 power card. On reveal, the acid arrow switches sides. And this worries me a bit because we already have a lot of clog stuff going on in the game, right, Alex? You get to play this as early as turn 3, obviously. They can't get rid of the power, unlike the Widow's Kiss. And on top of that, it's doing what it does best. It's clogging and it's creating disruption. So I think this is a pretty cool, and by far, this is probably her best arrow.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Basically power creep on Green Goblin somehow. Like, it's really, really good. And I think this is going to be one of the strongest ones for sure. And the ability to clog that early without the downside of the Widow's Kiss getting kind of negated into a zero power is notable. Like, this is legitimately a very strong addition in any game state. I really like it a lot, Cozy.
And what's cool way to think about her is, even if you want to think about her as a 3-cost, this right here has her as a 3/5. Right, we like that stat line, and you can kind of think of that way with some of the other cards that we're going to mention in a second. A lot of great utility here. I think this is the arrow you're wanting to get by far the most. This is the one that really sets her above the standard of a 2-cost card. Anytime you can, you just play this into the lane on turn 3 where they either have 2 or 1 card. You've put them in a hole immediately. And that's not assuming, by the way, that there's locations like Savage Land that you can continue to abuse with. Like, there's really great opportunities with this, and I think it's scary. It's definitely scary, man. Are you worried about this coming out as a clog card when we already have so many?
You know what? I'm not, actually. I think that because of the 50-50 chance of generating this particular arrow, I think you'd still rather just run White Widow because that's a 100% chance to do exactly what you want it to. I still think Kate Bishop's good and probably will end up experimented in those shells, but I don't know if she will displace White Widow despite how good this is.
Yeah. Fair enough. In fact, it'll probably be rolled with her in some cases, right? The next arrow is the grapple arrow. 1 cost again, 3 power. So now you're looking at a potential, essentially, a 2/6 or 3/6 for Kate Bishop. On reveal, after you play your next card, move it to this location. So kind of like the inverse of Ghost Spider, if you will. What do you think of grapple?
interesting when I read it because you're right. It is the inverse of Ghost Spider. And so if you play this on turn 5, they have an inkling as to where a card's going to go. Like they know, well, their turn 6 play, at least one of the cards is going to hit this location. Whereas if it was the other way around, Ghost Spider is unpredictable because Ghost Spider is moving during your turn and they can't really remedy that. So it does have that. But you're right that the stats are incredible. It's a natural 1/3. And if you don't want something to move, you can play this on turn 6 as the last card, right? So I do like it. I think it's pretty neat. And it does give some additional versatility for sure. However, it's not quite as accessible as something like Iron Fist. Like you won't be able to put something into like a Sanctorum with this card because this card physically has to be present in the location, which is a limitation.
Yes, totally agree. However, this is probably my second favorite card out of the kit. So first one was junk, kind of worked with that. To say like she has synergy with movement, I think so, kind of, right? But it's unpredictable, and that's the problem. I think when we get our next season, which is a move-based season, we might like this even more so, and we'll see that kind of come into play. What I like about this card is 1/3 is crazy. That's just a good stat line card that you get the value for. But what's cool about it is even though it can't get you into Sanctum, I love the versatility of it because this can get you into Death's Domain. This can get you into, because you play this down first, and even if it dies, it's going to be able to do that on reveal effect. We've seen that happen before. You know how powerful that is. We have so many locations like Quantum Tunnel, these weird kind of locations that you don't want to play a card into right away, right? And so I feel like that's the cool utility of it, that you don't always have to use it, but it can be nice.
Yeah, Luke's Bar is like a good example of that too. I like this one a lot. But like, I think that like all the arrows are particularly strong in their own way. And this is what's interesting. And as we talk about the other two as well, I wonder sometimes if Kate Bishop's going to be like those jack of all trades, master of none style cards where like, because of the 12 deck design of Marvel Snap, it's so hard to be like, she's a zoo card. She's a move card. She's a, toxic card. It's like she's 50% of the time exactly what you need and 50% of the time not what you need. And I think that's kind of interesting. But yeah, this is definitely a good one. And I think the other ones are good too, to be honest with you.
I'll talk about which one I think is the worst, and we'll end on the other one. I do think this is going to be our worst card. This is the basic arrow. It is Hawkeye. It's a 1/1 on reveal. If you play a card here at this location next turn, it's +3, goes to 1/4, meaning Kate Bishop is technically a 3/7. Not bad. However, why does Hawkeye suck? Why does Rescue suck, right? I think this is pretty obvious. It's not the best effect.
No, it's not. And it's also useless on the last turn of the game, right? Like, that's the sad reality. You get the stats, can't be played on the last turn of the game effectively. I mean, you could theoretically, but you wouldn't want to. But I mean, stats-wise, it does perform. So it's not really that far behind the others. Like, it's not as good as, like, the Acid Arrow, for instance, but it's really, I don't think it's that far off. I think the next arrow is better, though. I would agree that this is the worst of the four.
And it's the worst of the four, but we'll allude to some of the synergy. You talk about Falcon, you talk about Beast, then all of a sudden, hold on. It's not bad at all. You can start to really abuse this thing. And so another kind of sneak peek into a synergy we're talking about is Balance, right? Obviously. So I do agree. The last one is the Ant-Man kind of card, and that is our Pym arrow. Obviously, hence the name. Ongoing, if your side of this location is full, +3 power. You got the 1/4 doing pretty much nothing but the on-curve play. One less than Ant-Man. It's the old Ant-Man, and it has an ongoing ability, which we know we can abuse in certain ways.
I like this a lot, honestly. And this is like an ideal play on turn 6, right?
Yeah.
You're just sneaking out like all that extra power with a 1-drop. It's pretty awesome. I like this one a lot. I would actually rank this one as the second one and the move one as the third one. Like if you were to force me to pick a ranking, but I can totally see why like you would like the other one better, especially at its base stat line. But I do like this one a lot, and I think it's pretty versatile.
So with all this, guys, let's go ahead and talk more about those synergies. We spoiled some of them. Alex, I'll kick us off. I'll say which one where I see it working best. We've kind of iterated this a lot on the Snapchat, but anytime you're able to do what you're trying to do anyway, and you get to do these cards, that's when they shine the best. And with Kate Bishop, in my opinion, where does that shine? And some people are going to hate to hear it, but say what you will. It's Loki and it's Devil Dinosaur. Card generation, right? You don't even have to play these cards, and you're getting what you want to play. I went on a tear with my new Rocks and Hawks build. Loved it to death. And one of my favorite plays was the simple Devil on 5, Mystique, and then Coulson to finish the game. Well, Coulson's great because you get that card generation. You get a couple cards into your deck, build up the Devil Dinosaur. You're getting to do that too, but for even cheaper for only the 2. Or if you want to curve right into Loki, you can go with that. If you want to fill those turns until then, you can use those cards up. Maybe you get the Acid Arrow out there. So right away, no question in my book, I think Devil, Dinosaur, Loki are going to probably really love this card because then you're getting rid of that randomness.
There's no question it's an amazing Loki card. You think about what you're running in the 2-drop slot in Loki, and a lot of times you're running Cables. There's people even experimenting with Valentinas. Like there's usually some sort of hand generation at the 2-drop, and now you have double. You have 2 cards, and you can decide whether or not you play them out or you flip them with Loki. And of course, Loki with its discounted cost with each individual card you change, like that, those individual 1-drops suddenly become extremely powerful tools that your opponent can't really, predict what you're going to hit them with. Yeah. So I absolutely do think it's fantastic, and it's not quite on curve the way Coulson is, but that doesn't stop you from playing Coulson too.
Yeah, and like this is where it gets crazy, because what if we talked about, it's funny because we talked about Jeff for like ever, right? And maybe he got the excuse more because he's a cute shark, but we continue to have this conversation. Okay, it's going to work well with Loki. What works with Loki? Quinjet. Okay, cool. But that won't work with these cards because they can't go down even cheaper. However, what it does work with is currently one of the most played, one of the best cards in the game, and that's going to be Mockingbird, right? So once again, you've got a card that's going to work with Mockingbird in any deck. So let's just count that as its own merit. Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, and Mockingbird together. It works out. You're going to be able to get down at least her to a 4 cost just by playing that on curve. And by the end of the game, if you have the deck set up correctly, you should be able to get it even more crazy outside of maybe the Acid Arrow, obviously, because it gives your opponent's Mockingbird that advantage, yeah.
It's entirely possible that Mockingbird was nerfed the way it was at the time it was in advance of this season for this exact reason. In their testing, Mockingbird has obviously been a fantastic card in Snap for the longest time. And with Kate Bishop, it gets an additional synergy. And maybe that was like the moment they're like, no, listen, Loki has too much now. We've walked that dark road of pissing everyone off with Loki. Let's dial it back, making Mockingbird a 6/10. But one thing I want to mention, because we're talking a lot about the arrows are cool in of themselves. But I want to take a counterpoint. This is one of the things that took me off of like the rating slightly.
Okay.
I want you to reflect on what Dawkin does, okay? That shard that Dawkin produces, that 1 extra energy, it can often feel like you have to squeeze it in somewhere for Dawkin, right? And while Kate Bishop doesn't have quite that same problem, you're still going to often find yourself in situations where curving with those arrows, they might not be ideal. Sometimes it's going to help you curve, but other times it's going to be hard to actually find spots to play. Like there might be a situation where you top deck, Kate Bishop on 3, you get your arrows, and you're like, well, I should probably just Loki, and that's going to be the correct play. But with something like if you don't have your Loki, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well now I'm playing off curve with these 1-drops. I don't know if it's helping me that much. And so I wonder about that. And I wonder if she needs at some point maybe one of the weaker arrows like that on reveal +3, if that becomes a 0 cost. I think it's an additional dial that could be changed on each individual of these one of these cards. But I had that thought about, okay, first of all, they're going to be Killmongerable. They are buffable via Marvel Boy and Khazar and etc. But the cost of the individual arrows, I think, is an important dial to consider with regards to the power of the card.
So a few things to break down that you mentioned. First of all, it is cool that she has a lot of dials to mess with in OTAs, right? You have her base power, you have arrow in hands, you have what the arrows do. So there is that. I can assure you guys, if she were to fall flat, they would be able to adjust that very quickly, which is cool. I probably disagree with the Dawkin take in just the regard of like, Dawkin, you need to do that to get his power, and most of the time you're like obsessed with like trying to get him like much higher power and work with that. It's more keen to me to like Snow Guard, where it's like you can just use her to buff the hand and get what you want there and play those cards if you want to, and they're even cheaper. I will say, yes, there will be times she's awkward, like especially in the later turns. Like I think there's a certain point in the game where you're like, all right, she's legit going to be my finisher for Devil, or she's going to legit just be here to Loki. Or yeah, you get her too awkward, too late, and it's like there's no reason to get her out there at that point. So I see more the Snow Guard than I do Dawkin. I see your point a bit. I think a 0-cost arrow might be that's interesting. That's crazy. That's nuts, bro. You think she could use a 0-cost arrow?
No, I'm not saying that she needs it. I'm just saying that like I had this thought that like Dawkin with that shard, you often have to plan to utilize that shard, right?
Okay.
What Kate Bishop has to her advantage is the natural synergy with these hand generation Loki style decks, where being unable to play these cards is not always a detrimental factor. because you're able to just replace them, right? So it's not quite the same thing. Maybe Dawkin wasn't the best example. Maybe I should have said Snow Guard, as you brought up. But I just wanted to make a mention of the fact that these arrows are 1-costed is significant.
Yeah.
And you kind of alluded to that when you said, is she even a 2-cost? Is she really a 3-cost, right? Depending on the circumstances.
Especially with like move, right? Where it's like you receive new movement cards and we get excited, but like it can throw off your like Dawkin with like destroy and discard. Those cards are so direct. And like, let's say like we put the Dawkin shard down. Dawkin, I know you didn't mean to use the example, but this is just a good point here. Like, then you can't Carnage, then you can't Venom. It's kind of the same with move, right? If you throw down a card, it's not always like you want a Phoenix Force, you want to do something else, and it does cost 1. So all of a sudden it is awkward. And maybe there is a time and a place where there is a card kind of like akin to Quinjet that token cards are cheaper. Maybe like that would be an interesting thing. The hood could get carried away. But I understand your point here. I think in general, though, the only worry I have for her is she kind of, the master of none, but she works in so many archetypes that I see her doing well. I think what's cool about this is it is hard these days to not fill up your locations because you have junk working against you. You have just so many different options to play. And so these decks like Zoo and Bounce, you've got to plan out so well in advance, right? To what you're doing, where you got players that are like, dude, I'm just going to Shuri and Taskman. Can I just go that route? I don't want to do the calculus to try to do, whatever it might be here. But yeah, Hitmonkey, very interesting combination. And as always, Hitmonkey, you got Mysterio, you have Mockingbird, you have the arrows. So you have another little core group that can all hang together. And so I think that's a great point. I have one last synergy on her before we move on. Do you have anything else you want to say about Kate?
I think my major synergy I want to talk about is what we're moving on to. So I'll let you take over. Yeah.
So, last point. I see some really cool potential. Whoops, not Pixie. I just wanted to click her.
I was going to say, what kind of copium are you on now?
That's super copium. Thena. I think Thena having those curve out plays, because she's, for those that just like to play curve, and that's you, man. You love curve, right? Thena can feel awkward at some points because it's like, you didn't get your Kitty Pride. This is the ultimate Thena card in the sense of, yes, you have to play Thena first and or second, but if you play, actually the play line is just Kate Bishop, Thena, and an arrow. Then you have an arrow plus other cards to play, right? So I like this for that build as well.
It's like one of the only times where Thena might actually be playable outside of Kitty Pride. She might still just be best in Kitty Pride, but that doesn't mean you can't add Bishop to that Kitty Pride deck.
Well, yeah, because you do, because you think about it, right? What else is in the deck? Obviously, we know it by now, Angela. So what does Angela do? Well, Angela's feasting off these arrows. You have the acid arrow. I give up finding her. You have the acid arrow, right? You play it on Angela, switches sides, you get the buildup. You also have the grapple arrow that can go to another side. The ongoing arrow is kind of nice to play in there too. I think this might be a really cool Angela card.
Yeah, the only challenge is with Thena. I don't know if it happens very often with you, but I'm like, damn, I want to play 3 cards. This is sad, right? And with Kate Bishop and that kind of generation, that might happen here and there. But regardless, it's going to be a good place to test her for sure. And this is a key learning with Kate Bishop. Like, it feels like she's going to be able to go into a number of different archetypes. Where she's ideal, of course, remains to be seen, but I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation.
And I always like that. I like when it's not obvious exactly what to do, what to play. Let's talk about Marvel Boy, and this is going to be our first Spotlight card of the month. They have already had to tune them a bit. The video has not come out yet at the time of us recording this, and I do think there are some cards that get touched up. I think he might be good in this iteration for now. He's a 3-cost, 2-power card, Alex. After each turn, give 3 of your 1-cost cards, plus 1 power. That is very interesting, very crazy. Star ratings, thoughts? Let's start there.
This was close to being my 5.
Okay.
I was leaning towards like, how can this be bad? I'm gonna go with a firm 4, but like I can see, you know what, man? I might even go 5 here. Like, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm leaning towards 5 because like, it's funny. People say, "Oh, Killmonger, man, Killmonger's gonna wipe out these cards." I'm like, it's funny because Killmonger's the release valve. But we have a release valve for Killmonger and Kyera.
Yeah.
So like, it's funny how like this card has like so much going for it from a deck building perspective. Stats wise, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I'm gonna go 5 here. I think this card's actually legitimately nuts.
I think this is the safe 5 for sure. The 5 I'll give, I think, is more risky, but I definitely see giving this the 5 because of a few reasons. Because of Killmonger's existence, this card can be a card, and that's important because, of course. And listen, what I'm loving is Zoo was the first deck most of us played, and it went from bare bones basic to super complex. And the reason I say complex is not in the way you play it, but the build. Because You can't put every card in a zoo deck. You need enough ones, right? You also need to protect your cards, which would be with Old Days Armor, now Kyera. But Kyera's a 3. Okay, now you have Marvel Boy. It's really cool because now if you draw Kyera, you play her down first. If you play Marvel Boy, you play him down first, either or. And then all the other cards that you've got in your deck are pretty cheap, not to mention Kate Bishop giving you 2 1s to add into that, which is our lean-in. So I see it. I mean, listen, we're going to talk synergy. I'm going to give this a 4. I like 4 here for sure. It's the Squirrel Girl into this is just that immediate wow synergy, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, of course. And like, it's just crazy how much power it's going to put up. And what I'll argue against, and the reason why I'm like, kind of like, again, my 5, it's not okay. My other 5s, like last month, I was way more confident. This one here, I can see slipping 4.5, 4, right? But what I will say though is like, it's, yeah, give up a little bit of the top end. If you're against a destroy player, don't play Marvel Boy on 3, play Kyera on 3 if you have her, play Marvel Boy on 4. You know what I mean? Just be conservative. Protect your board. If you're playing Squirrel Girl, you likely have initiative. It's one of the things that card is so good at, and Kyera on 3 will prevent that Killmonger from wiping your board out, right? So just don't get greedy. If you're holding both, man, just don't get greedy, and you should still be okay in those matchups, despite the fact that, of course, you're never going to draw Kyera on 3 every single time, and you're not going to have Marvel Boy on every time either.
Yeah, listen, guys. My 5 is more of the troll 5. I don't think you're going to miss with this being one of the best cards, if not the best of the month of a 5. Because here we go, right? You play Squirrel, or you just play 3 1-cost cards on turn 1 and on turn 2, or the Kate Bishop. You can do either or. Immediately, first turn, right after turn 3, right after you play this guy, 3/5 value, just like that. He goes to 3/5 value, then 3/8.
Yeah, and don't forget that, like, honestly, with Mockingbird being a 6 power cost card now as well, Kyera's in these decks. Mockingbird is going to benefit from like the Shaunas, the Squirrel Girls, and also be not able to get destroyed because of Kyera's effect.
Okay, Bishop, yeah, to your point exactly. And then you have like all these other cards that just build up over time. The Dazzlers, like Gilgamesh in his own right is such a great foundation of that card, and who's kind of earned that spot over even something like, the Blue Marvel. This is a cheap Blue Marvel replacement in the sense of like, you don't have to worry about always going Blue Marvel on 5. I think it still deserves its spot in the deck, probably, depending on the game plans that you have. But with Kate Bishop's arrows and with this, you should have enough boosting going on that you feel confident with a big Gilgamesh if you want to go that route anyway, which is exciting in its own merit. So, yes, I think this card is super cool. I love I don't feel like they do it enough, that the Season Pass card and the card that's releasing this week coincide absolute perfect together. Absolutely great. And it's just it's a very interesting concept, and it makes Zoo a different deck rather than the same element.
But it's obviously a card and something that holds it back. It's a card that benefits from being played early, right? Playing this card on turn 4 is okay. Turn 3 is ideal. Turn 6 is still procs once. It's not the end of the world.
3/5.
Right?
I think it's fine no matter when you play it. I honestly do, because a 3/5 is a 3/5 at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, right? But, you get a little more from playing it earlier, naturally, but It's still just good. It's so good, in fact, I wonder if when the video comes out, this is not like a 3/1 or something. Like, I wonder if this gets toned down.
3/1 would make more sense, because then you got 3/4, goes to 3/7, 3/10. Like, that makes more sense than the 3/5, 3/8. Like, that starts getting kind of crazy. They won't touch anything in his ability. I think that's kind of going to be... No. They're not going to go down and give 2 cards. I don't see that happening. It just synergizes like immediately with that new card. What I want to talk about, because we talked about Zoo, we're going to continue to talk about Zoo because obviously that's where he works, is the 1-cost cards that I like this best with, right? A lot of these cards are ones that you want to have sit out there a bit, right? And continue to gain that power. There's obviously the 1-cost cards, not you, Baron. There's obviously the 1-cost cards that are just good cards to have, right? Like, I think the early Spider-Ham play, getting that out there, you're already doing one thing. And then, hey, you're not playing a cheap card all of a sudden. You're playing a powerful card. I think this could be super interesting in tandem, Alex, with Echo. I love this play with Echo because Echo is that card you want to get out there right away. She does her own thing. And then on top of that, you're going to be able to start building her up as well.
It's cool to think about how, like, Echo, if you play her, like, there's 2 ways to play Echo. One, play her out early so that you kind of know, they can't Pro X Darkhawk or whatever there. Or you try to catch them in advance of, like, I think they're going to play Darkhawk here. I have initiative slider in there, right? So there's 2 different approaches. I like the idea of getting her out there, locking down a location from ongoing cards on your opposing side, and then also getting the benefit of giving it additional power, right? I do like that a lot. And that's going to be for situations where you are playing her on turn one, which actually has kind of been the way to play her lately. One of the major decks she's seeing play in is we're seeing her on and off in the Namora base deck, because Namora decks use Wong. And so she's often played out on turn 1 or 2. And so I'm not saying you're going to have a Namora Wong like Marvel Boy deck. It's just an example. That doesn't even make sense. But what I'm going to say, though, is that it makes sense because Echo's one of those cards that often sits on the board just like, hey, I'm here. But actually, she shouldn't even say, hey, I'm here. The amount of time people play ongoing cards on top of Echo is ridiculous.
Yeah.
She doesn't have like the Cosmo beep beep effect. People just like, oh, here's my Darkhawk. Hi, Echo. Boom.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. For sure. What other one-cost cards do you like with Marvel Boy?
I mean, okay, honestly, I do like the idea of playing Nebula. I still think Nebula is fantastic, while forcing them to kind of commit to having that macro kind of like, okay, where am I going to play? And then Nebula all of a sudden becomes this major risk, because if they're not playing there, and then you have the Marvel Boy, she's ticking up. She's ticking up twice now. Now she's gaining 3 power every single turn. And if they are playing there, she's still gaining power every turn anyways. So she becomes this double threat of just constant power generation while also forcing them from a macro perspective to deal with her and with the way that they play.
And I think because of her and cards like Sunspot, it makes it where Marvel Boy doesn't have to be Zoo, right? So an example is you do a Storm deck, right? You have this control build and you have Nebula and Storm, and sometimes you can outpower them with that if you do the Storm build in there, but sometimes they put like a big card in there to really commit. Well, you throw in an extra Marvel Boy for that extra insurance, and now you're really skyrocketing. And if you look at, well, what other cards could kind of fit into those builds outside of maybe the Sunspot, because he's a good card, I think this is going to do tremendous things to these 1/5s. Call me crazy. Martyr in these style of decks is going to be so good, because now Martyr is trying to lose you the game actively, but you have Marvel Boy that's just boosting her power so much that it doesn't matter. She'll be so skyrocketed that she can't lose you the game because she doesn't really know where to go. And so I get it. It's Martyr. She's fun to make fun of. But like, there's a real case that this is going to be a decent card, and Hydra Bob with these premium stat lines with Marvel Boy.
Yeah, like honestly, we're going to talk about more about Hydra Bob later. But like, you're 100% right, man. Like, I actually like Hydra Bob. I think he's actually pretty good. I played him a couple decks. I'm like, man, it's a 1/5 stat line, right? It's not actively trying to kill you the way Martyr is. But you are correct in the sense that like if Martyr's a 1/8 conservatively, not even conservative, that's pretty good stat line still. But let's say Martyr's a 1/8. Well, where's it going to go? Like, what's it going to do that absolutely is like, oh man, that 8 power floating around is killing me.
Yep.
The only thing it can really do is absolutely throw one location, but it still has to move to another one with 8 power. Like, it's still solid.
Which is why I kind of like it in maybe a control-ish build, right? Because you have the Nebula Storm, and then you have this, like, Martyr that, like, it doesn't want to go to the Storm thing. It'll win. Okay, where do I go? Like, it's cool. It's very interesting in the way that it works. And I think that you're going to be able to have some applications. Alex, here's my, like, whoa take, all right? And I think it's going to work. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I have a whoa take as well.
Oh.
I want to hear yours first, though.
Okay. All right. So my go ahead. Do we have the same one? Who's your rotate?
You're hovering Nightcrawler, which is mine, so now I'm concerned. Because listen, Nightcrawler, you play him down, he starts gaining power. How often do you like it when you play like Jeff on Muir Island, and you're like, check out this like 2/7? Like, where's he going? Where's he going, right? I think Nightcrawler down, gaining that extra power, then he moves on the last turn of the game or whatever is huge.
Yep. And talk about that control build that I just mentioned, right? It's like, hey, okay, now you have this, you have a baby vision that's just going to be able to go to that one location and have huge value. So soft shout out to Misty Knight and High Evo. I think that's interesting. We know she works out well, and then you're gonna have like give power, and it's gonna start ramping up. But dude, Kitty Pryde, if you read the text, right, it's after the turn ends. So if this returns at the start of the turn, this will be a new way to ramp up Kitty even more, even faster, even more powerful. Do the Kitty Taskmaster deck. We've seen that go. Hey, Kitty Pryde's new best friend.
So we're playing Kitty Pryde into Shuri again now? Great.
Yeah. Hey, it's going to happen. I mean, but isn't this a crazy synergy? Like, I don't think it's getting really thought about much. I get it, Zoo, but you get this free card that's going to be getting that power each time.
You're right, because this technically returns at the start of each turn, so it's going to eat the proc of Marvel Boy, then pop back in. It's pretty cool. I mean, that is still, it's kind of like old Kitty Pryde that used to gain +2. And I wonder, like, does she really get that high to make that worth it? But it can't be bad. It can't be bad. That took me by surprise. I wasn't thinking about Kitty Pryde. I think that's a good call. But like Kitty Pryde's activating so many other things at the same time that like, do you really need the power on her herself?
So you can't get too much power with her anyway because of the Marvel Boy going on 3. So your first time you can do this is kind of 4, right? However, you have the Hope Summers thing to really like feed into that energy. But also, it's going into the Angel build, which we know the Nightcrawler would make it in there, which to your point is going to be a great card. So you can, yeah, I think you do. I think you make the synergy work. It's not going to be the best build, but I think it's a unique and different kind of build with it. And I wanted to kind of, you know, throw it your direction. Anything else? I thought Bast is interesting to make Marvel Boy have a little bit better stats. And then also it's just like getting that out there. You can do that Bast to the Hood then. And then you have like crazy demon Hood. And I think that this is kind of going to make Bast somewhat relevant again.
Bast has been so tricky. And I had this thought recently that Bast kind of completely fell off. We had those like Bast, like Mysterio decks, and I wonder why they never quite made a comeback with Mockingbird. Like we weren't seeing Bast being included there because obviously you hit your Mockingbird with it, so you have to be very cognizant of the timing of the way you play Bast. Whereas Bast just likes, oh, everything's cheap, let's play and just roll, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know because like Bast is one of those decks that is so oddly specific. It needs a very specific style of build. However, you could include things like Bishop in there. You could include a Hitmonkey, Beast. And when you're playing Hitmonkey, Beast, Bishop, then you obviously have Mysterio. That also the deck starts to write itself a little bit. And Marvel Boy still gets a benefit. Even if it gets nerfed to a 3-1 or whatever, it gets popped back up to a 3-3. So I can see it working for sure.
Last case on Zoo before we move on. I think he kills Kazar. I think he kills the literal Zoo guy. The guy that was made for Zoo decks. Because with Blarvel, with him, why, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense. Kazar still maybe sees play in like, I don't know, Ultron type stuff as a backup play. But even then, it's like, I don't know, man. Like you'd rather, but Kazar can go down later than Marvel Boy. I mean, not even really, because Marvel Boy still procs at the end of the turn, right? So like, yeah, maybe this is just straight up power creep on Kazar.
4/6 Kazar coming soon.
4/6? You think they go right to 4/6?
Let's go to the next card, man. And I think this one is going to be a fun one to talk about. It is going to be...
Before we move on, should we not mention that the Spotlight Week is fantastic?
Oh, yeah. I forgot because it is this week. Yeah, hit me with the Spotlight Week.
Yeah, so the Marvel Boy Spotlight Week is Red Hulk and Blob. Both of which are incredibly they're incredibly meta relevant right now. This is a good week to roll in my opinion for sure.
We ranked all the spotlights and I remember this one being towards the top. The Big Boys week, both those cards are going to just stay relevant. And Marvel Board 2, this is just a surefire week, man. This is a surefire week. We have a couple not so much surefire weeks, and so this is the one you want to definitely probably spin it on. And with that, let's go to talk about it. Let's go to bring up Wiccan. Wiccan is a 4-cost 5-power card. This is my guess that's going to change stat-wise when the trailer hits. On reveal, if you spent all of your energy this game, plus 2 max energy. Alex Coccia, what do you think?
I originally came in at 2 stars on Wiccan, and now I've changed it to a 3 stars. So I'm going to go 3 because I gave some more thought to the way this could be played, especially with Kate Bishop, which might allow you to curve a little easier, right, as we've talked about. I think there's potential here. And I think the key thing here that is really worth noting is this the ultimate Zabu card. Think about it.
Yep.
You play Zabu, but then again, you don't even need Zabu. You can technically, this is the thing I struggle with Zabu. You play Zabu or you can just play Psylocke. It's the same damn thing, I guess. But Psylocke or Zabu, this plays down on turn 3. And then suddenly turn 4, you've got 6 energy. Turn 4, G-Man.
Yep.
Ship it.
Absolutely. Getting ready to the synergy. Hey, listen, I'm going to go right now as it stands. I think that I'm really piqued by the deck building that will happen here because I think sometimes not going with the big cards like you can play 2 6s on 5 and 6, which a lot of people go to. I think Airshim does that better. The Airshim is a better version of this card a lot of the time. However, I think having that much energy at your will with like different style zoo decks and card generation decks is gonna be something very new and unique. And I don't want to judge that yet. I'm saying like a 2.5 because I just don't know, right? Like it's gonna be very interesting on how he works, and there are some synergies I want to talk about. Clearly, the uncle to him and Speed is Quicksilver. This is them trying to make Quicksilver Domino relevant to be able to have guaranteed plays to get him out in time. But I think, yes, number one thing I had written down here, no question is, yes, you can rely and hope for the 1-cost cards that you have in the deck, but I genuinely think Quicksilver and Zabu or Psylocke, it is the way to go with this card. I mean, I think that's such a great opening. And yeah, man, the sky's the limit after that. You're going into turn 4 with the 6 energy from that point on.
Yeah, if you think about it, you'd play Quicksilver as the solo 1 cost. You'd play Zabu, Psylocke as the 2s. And then you would go right to Wiccan and a bunch of other stuff. And I think you don't run Domino because I think at that point you're not drawing cards. Like, for those who don't realize, Quicksilver and Domino feel bad because they prevent you from digging into your deck. They're basically stuffing your draw on those individual turns, right? So eventually you got to draw cards to play with Wiccan. And so ultimately, I would say you probably stay away from Domino and you go the Quicksilver route for sure.
I think it's something as simple as playing, you do Quicksilver, Zabu, or Psylocke. You really hope that you get that draw going. And then you put Wiccan with a couple strong 4s, just a couple, right? You can go Wiccan, you can go, I mean, heck, Cold Obsidian because you have a guaranteed one. And then a lot of 5s and some 6s because you have the ramp with Psylocke and or you have this energy to go off of, right? I think that's the way you build. You build just a few low-cost cards in there. That's one way to build as opposed to what I said, but it's a new way to ramp. And I think it's really interesting.
I thought about like how many 6s you would have in the deck with a Wiccan deck. And for me, I think because of that, you'd be likely to have a backup plan of Wave and not something like a... what's the other guy? Electro. You're not going to play Electro because Electro requires lots of 5s, whereas Wave can sneak out a 6. Yeah. And so I wonder if Wave would be a backup play in this deck in the event that you actually don't get this flowing the way you expect it to.
This is the card that we always give it to once a season, the award of like could be a 2, could be a 4, anywhere in between there. And we're going to have to see kind of how the deck creation goes and the creativity, which is why I've turned around my thought on this season. I think you have some very obvious play this in Zoo decks, but between Kate and Wiccan, very different. Very different in the way that they work. There's not like crazy amounts to say. I think a card being slept on a bit is Maria Hill. I think you go with that and Kate Bishop, and those are just good curve cards that we just talked about. That Maria Hill, you have better than the Quicksilver play almost, right? In some senses. So I think there's unique ways to build the way that this is going to work.
That's fair. That's fair. And like, I kind of wonder though about his inconsistency. Like, because you're going to be dependent. Like, once you add Quicksilver to a deck, your draw pattern becomes a little compromised, right? Yep. It's the opposite of what Chavez was. So I wonder if you don't draw Wiccan, what your game plan looks like. If you do draw Wiccan, what are you drawing into? Like, are you getting your Dooms? Are you getting your Orcas or whatever that? I just threw Orca out there because I haven't said his name in a while. But I'm just saying, like, I think the inconsistency could potentially be problematic. But like a card like Galactus, right, could just sneak out. It could sneak out, right? But then again, why wouldn't you just play Wave Galactus?
But he's so boom and bust, and I just see more the boom. The more I talk about it, the more I hate my 2.5. Like, I think it could deserve higher because then you think about things like, let's even say Loki, right? And you don't force the Zabu play, but instead you now have this way to like have so much energy. You still want something like Coulson in there because then you could play Coulson's 5. You load it up on the top end, and then you could also do the Loki thing on 5. But on 5, you also have the extra energy. You have 2 extra energy, and everything's cheap. You just have so much to work with. I feel like card generation might be pretty important with him because you're limiting yourself on like all. What are you going to do with this energy unless it's big cards, right? So I think that's going to be something important to say. I would not be surprised if he shocks us. No question about it.
I feel like this guy is a different way of building negative. It's like it feels like the deck build consideration is the same. Try to get him out on 3, take advantage of that as you draw into your cards. Obviously, negative's different, but I mean, like it's a 4 you want on 3, or else the game plan kind of gets shuttered.
Yep, agreed. And we're going to go to his brother Speed, everybody. 3 cost, 3 power card. Now, he's going to have an ongoing effect of +1 power for each turn in which you spent all of your energy. I've got some thoughts here. What do you think?
I've got some thoughts too.
You do? That's good.
Yeah.
We're doing a podcast.
I took a point from Speed and I gave it to Wiccan because last time I had Wiccan 2, Speed 3. I'm flipping them. I think Wiccan's a 3. I think Speed's a 2.
Speed, oh man. So here's the thing with Speed. I think he's boring as a new card to get. Okay? But that being said, I think he's good. I don't know. Like, hear me out. Hear me out. He's a 3/7, 3/9 most of the time. Probably. It's not as hard as you think, especially if you build it to be able to curve the deck out correctly. And it's an ongoing ability. So you could even be bold enough to play it in something like Spectrum, who can continue to build him up. Spectrum has plenty of curve plays to continue to use that energy. It's ongoing, so it's retroactive. 3-7, 3-9. I don't hate that at all. He's good statted. So I don't know why I don't like him. I think he's just boring. You know what I mean? Like, he's good statted. So to me, he's a good card, but he's just not great. He's not transcendent. He just kind of flexes into certain decks, which is why I want to give him like a 3, a 3.5.
Oh, I see. So he's faster than fast. He's quicker than quick, but he's not lightning.
There you go. There you go. Do you see what I'm coming at with some of that, though?
I do. I do see what you're coming at there. And, like, I wonder about him. I'm like, you know what? I can see the stat line being decent, but, like, I'd rather just play Gladiator, or I'd rather just play other cards we're going to be talking about in, like, 20 minutes. I mean, like, there's other cards I would rather play than dealing with this nonsense. And, like, you could make the argument that he works well potentially with Wiccan, because you're trying to play on curve anyway with Wiccan. You add him to the deck. You got 2 extra energy, and you could probably, like, think about it. You're going to be able to play 8 power on turn 6, right? You play a 5-drop that might have been your backup plan. Like, I don't know. I'm going to throw Miss Spider Woman. I'm throwing out names we haven't heard in a while. You play Spider Woman and you play Speed. I don't know. You know, turn 6, you could do it.
Yeah, you could. I think, yeah, cheaper decks, zoo decks too. Like, there are cheaper decks. He's obviously could work with Gilgamesh a bit. I think cheaper decks are interesting with the card as well. And even Surfer to some extent. Like, he's going to have that power, especially, like, what's cool is, like, you'll have him in the hand and you'll know, like, how well you did with your energy spin that time. And so it's like, okay, well, he's just a 3. Dude, 3-7 is fine. That's huge, man. And you don't have the kind of Gladiator. 3-9 is obviously best in slot kind of thing. So I like him. I just think he's super, like, I don't recommend maybe going token-wise unless you really like the archetypes he's played in, because he's not exactly, like, transformative. But I do see him being a competitive-ish card.
All right, what's your star rating then?
I gave it. I think he's a 3-ish.
3-ish? I don't remember saying. Maybe I wasn't listening, but that actually surprises me. I can see it. You're right, though. From a pure power perspective, he should be in the 3, potentially 4 range. It's just what you have to do to get there. It's just like, I don't know, man. Again, like Gladiator, I left click on him and he blows something up right now. That's what the meta is. When Hela was popular, Gladiator was unplayable. But with this guy, you're working a lot harder for it.
I'm so confused by him and Wiccan, because Wiccan has so much on paper but could fall flat. He's like an obvious just statted card. Like, that's not bad. But then he's kind of boring. So, like, I think Wiccan is ultimately, like, if I was just picking one, the one I would go for. But also we got to see how he plays out. Probably, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, okay, I would get Marvel Boy if you plan on playing him. I would probably skip both weeks unless Wiccan pops off, because his burst potential is way higher. If Wiccan would be amazing. But I would probably skip both. And then I would go with our next card we're about to talk about into our next season. There's so much good cards coming out. So even though these are tempting, I think that that's probably the ultimate game plan, right? We're talking about their overall viability. And the way we talk about this, guys, is like, if you like Zoo, if you like the Spectrum builds, if you like the way this plays out, we're making the case for them. But the answer is probably safe because of the legit stuff that's coming to the game. And that's my overall thoughts. Outside of that, obviously, I guess you could make, the Quicksilver thing's still there. Onslaught, if you want to be just insane and roll them in like a living tribunal deck. I don't know. But that's kind of my overall thoughts on Speed.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with Speed. He has the potential to surprise, but I would be surprised.
And he has a good spotlight week, too. I forgot what it is, but I just remember it being pretty cracked.
Yeah, it's Jeff and Iron Lad, buddy.
Jeff and I, yeah, okay. So, yeah, you're definitely like, if you don't have those cards, Speed is just such a good value card that goes into the collection and is a 5 out of 5 versatility-wise, in my opinion, most of the time. I mean, you're going to be able to play Speed in a number of decks that curve out well, at least, right? And so that ends it on our last card here, Emperor Hulkling, a 6-cost, 11-power card at the start of the game. Copy the text of a random 6-cost card. And Alex, no surprise here, this is my shot in the dark 5-power, 5-star card. I love it, dude. I love it. I think he's so fun. I think I see it all. I see it all, and I'm willing to fall flat.
Sell me on it. Sell me on it. Don't fall flat, Cozy. Sell me on it.
What's your star rating? Then we'll talk.
My star rating, I have written 3 to 4 stars. So technically like a 3.5 range. And I've been bobbing back and forth. I go to 3, then I'm like, you know what though? He only really sucks with like 6 cards. He's pretty good all the way around. I'm like, is he really a 3? Probably nice. Probably closer to, he's definitely a 4. Listen, you got a spicy take at 5. I respect that because it takes Coco nuts to go to the 5-star rating, buddy.
He's
You
not
could
a
have went
five-
Marvel Boy like everyone else was expecting, but you didn't.
I told you it was a
went
bull
for it. I
tag.
appreciate it.
When I do my video, there's no way he's a 5-star card. I think he's 5-star in my heart here. I think he could be a 4 to 4.5. I think he's a difference maker. I think he's a difference maker, and let me tell you why. So I'm giving him 5 because of the boom and burst potential, which is what I always like. I'm gonna get this shit. So I don't care. I just think he's fun. I'm gonna give my rating here. Pay attention to my video that I released more than this. However, if you look at all the 6-cost cards, right? His burst potential, first of all, it's like Copycat in the sense of at the start of the game, copy the text of a random 6-cost card. So right off the bat, right, you don't have to play him. So I love that. He doesn't screw you necessarily. You'll be building him in decks. He's going to be able to be largely plug and playable into most decks, right? And in the same vein as Copycat, I love the idea that you'll know very quickly if he is going to be a game winner for you, right? Like you're going to know if he's a game winner no matter what. And I love that. It's so unpredictable. And that's what Snap needs to be about sometimes, right? I want to talk about the 6-cost cards. Obviously, that's where we need to go with. And I think there's only 2 really bad cards, maybe 3, but 2 for sure. Other than that, there's plenty of like, okay. And then there's 10 plus really good options.
Yeah, there's a couple that are like, oh, I just won the game, right? Like, oh, look at this, an 11 power leader. What are they going to do? 11 power Doctor Doom. Like there's obvious ones, right? That are absolutely like amazing. Then there's middling ones. Like I got Magneto. I lost 1 power. Who cares? That's actually not all that bad.
Like, all right, well, let's start here. This is the visualization is why I want to, you said prove myself over here. Okay. So visualization is what I think is important to see how this plays out. Okay. The stats don't lie. I think there's just good neutral cards. First of all, let's just talk about, he's 11 power. Okay, 11 power is a respectable card number. I think that's fine. I think at the end of the day, you're not mad about it, right? And if you get Thanos, that's what he'll hit, and okay, right? At the end of the day, that's okay. Arnim Zola, excellent card. Fantastic. 6'11 Arnim Zola, I don't really care what you copy at that point. You're just going to get massive value in some sense of the term. In the right decks, this is extra crazy. 10 out of 10. Love the card there. Blob, fantastic. Freaking stupid. You have an 11 power baseline. Your Blob is going to win a lane. No matter what, you're going to win a lane with Blob. Congratulations, you won the game. Or at least if you plan out your turns correctly. Noel. Okay, so Noel, obviously, like, we're not crazy about Noel. He's good. He's 6'11", so he's neutral, is the way I have it, with potential to be higher than that. Okay? So, again, not horrible. You're not mad about it. Leader, most busted card probably he could pull outside of one other one, probably. Like, Leader, you've got yourself a 6'11 Leader. Congratulations. You probably, once again, won the game, but harder to pull off than some cards because you have to have the space and whatnot, but definitely cracked, right? So we've already started off pretty hot, Alex. Dr. Doom. 6'11 Dr. Doom. You like it?
Yeah, you hit Doctor Doom, I hit Giganto.
Okay, so we are 6 in a row. We are 6 in a row. Good. I'm going off the stats. Galactus. I'm just going right to left so far. Okay. You like a 6'11 Galactus?
Yeah, first of all, I want to know, like, if you figure out that Hulkling's going to be Galactus, do you completely change your game plan to make sure a location's completely empty for that 11 power? Like, are you going for it?
I think that you build Hulkling into certain decks that can capitalize off a large number of these cards. Like, I like Hulkling a lot as a ramp card, right? As a ramp deck card. Like, just almost the old school Electro decks could be really interesting with him. Because then all of a sudden, like, you pull them, you either have the 6'11 that has this really upside, or you can do, other creative things with him, whatever that might be. So potentially. Apocalypse, obviously, he's just is what he is. He's a 6'11 again.
Yeah, he's just this vanilla stat line. And that's kind of what kind of kept me propped up on this card. Like, we got Hela, we got all these cards. Spectrum, even if you don't have the ongoings, he's still just 6'11. So it's like you're just playing a vanilla 6'11 at a bit of a low roll, which isn't always the end of the world. Like, you're probably not excited about it. You probably don't snap on it, but you have a play.
Yeah, you have, and there's times where you want to play Magneto, but not use his effect, like sometimes or whatever, and it's like, okay, it's because he's 12 power. Odds are you have at least one ongoing card, probably played down. That's 6'13. Fair enough. Onslaught, ridiculous.
Cracked.
Odin, cracked, right? Like, both of these, completely cracked. And that's where I think, like, even in, like, Tribunal builds, like, there's some really cool upside that you might want to be building them into. That card, that's a ramp build anyway as well. Odin, cracked. Ultron, extra cracked if you plan with it.
Ultron could be all right. Like I've had people beat me with Airshim Ultrons because the deck does not look like Ultron, and then all of a sudden they fill up everything, even a location like Luke's Bar, which I'm like, so like yeah, surprise Ultron, the new version
With
coming to you
Hulkling.
soon.
Super surprise Ultron. Heimdall, probably like neutral. It's okay.
I can see this being bad.
This would be one of the more difficult ones because this is when you're like, oh god, like I didn't build for this. You pull Hulkling on 5, you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, this one I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's definitely like towards the lower end or whatever, if you will. Tribunal.
Yeah, it's got to be bad. It has to be because like if you're not building for Tribunal, you're not putting enough power across. Like it just doesn't work that way. Like you need Iron Man, you need Onslaught, like you need the proper Tribunal setup. You might be able to surprise people with like, oh, there's a location you can't access and you spread that power, but then you're probably losing the other 2 locations. I don't know. Tribunal's probably cope.
Yeah, and I think like so Copycat, for instance, I like her, but she can take a Korg. She can take a card that's like, oh, the value's not exactly there. Whereas with this, it's I love the idea that you just are getting for sure a card with a decent ability. Alioth, we obviously like. It's just one better. Helicarrier, vanilla stat line. Mockingbird.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Hell yeah.
It's another Mockingbird in a deck.
And
like
worse vanilla stat line again.
Yeah, exactly. It's another Mockingbird in a deck, and odds are, if you have it, you're gonna be able to play it for 5 or 4. Like, and that's like a huge, like excellent card. Red Hulk busted. We love that.
Will he show in the hand though? Will he be like, blah, and he'll just pop out?
I think
Hulkling?
so. I think he will. I think it'll be Hulk. It's kind of like when Copycat says like, "Hi, I'm Korg" or whatever. It's like I think it takes the identity of the card, right? Sasquatch, another good card to have early if you get Hulkling early.
Yeah, it'll probably just be a 5/11, 4/11. Yeah.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, not bad. But I mean, it's 1 power buff maybe.
Yeah, it's cool though to have like this She-Hulk that you can flex play into. I think that's very interesting. Thanos neutral. Orca is Orca.
Yeah.
So a vanilla card because that's how Orca's played these days. I feel like of a 6/11. Scar.
Oh, the best possible. You hit Scar. You basically have actual Scar.
You just have Scar. Yeah, you legit have Scar. Hulk is obviously, I guess, like not a good pull because you're losing a power point, but it's also the vanilla it's neutral.
This Hulk looks like he takes too much pre-workout.
Bro, that vein's bigger than my leg. Magneto.
I mean, it's not bad. You lose 1 power, who cares? Still a good effect.
It's not bad. Magneto's one of your favorite cards in the game. It's 1 power less than Magneto.
I know. I'm just saying you lose 1 power, but it's also... We actually don't know if you'll hit Agatha. Has this been confirmed yet?
We don't know, and even if he does, I accounted for he does in my ranking in the sense of like statistically, yeah, you're gonna be bummed out when that Agatha hits in the 1 in 35 or whatever it is, right? I totally get it. That's one of the worst cards, but we don't know. Nick Fury does a generator. Some cards do. Giganto.
Yeah,
oof.
It's poo, yeah. This is one of the low rolls. We're getting into the low rolls now.
Which we've only had I think 2 low rolls now, and with this, it's again, just don't play it though. That's kind of the way I see it, you know.
And this makes sense because really powerful 6-cost effects are offset by lower power levels.
Yeah.
Right. Onslaught can't be a 16 power card. There's a reason why Arnim Zola is not a 20 power card. And Destroyer can be 16. Infinite can be 20. There's reasons why these power levels exist. So it makes sense that it's more front-loaded.
Yep, 100%. Destroyer, obviously, useless at that point. You're not going to be playing Destroyer. That's like just like Agatha, just a whiff. Infinite, same deal. In fact, you literally won't be able to play the card, and it won't do Airshim or Death, to my knowledge. So, to my knowledge, we just talked about maybe 2 to 3 cards you don't like. Most you do like, and about 6, 7, 8 that are game winning.
You made a good case, man. You know, I'll give you a hand. I think the comment section is going to appreciate your valiant effort.
We have gone long, so we'll be shorter on this last part here. We're going to talk in more detail on Alex's side. Hopefully you guys are excited for the season ahead. Let's go and quickly talk about Cassandra Nova. Cassandra Nova came out. We didn't talk about her last week because, quite honestly, I don't think we knew how long it would take to get the card. Obviously, we were able to get her a little bit quicker. We're going to have our thoughts on Deadpool's Diner. Synergy and Dex. I don't think this. It's just not spoiling anything. Just that we do. Do you like her as a card?
Yes, I think she's very good.
I
very
haven't
good.
loved a bald person more than her since Mr. Clean.
You know what? That's between you and Mr. Clean. I don't want to get between you guys.
It's pretty personal.
This is a love triangle I don't want to get involved with. I gotta be honest with you.
The Chrome Dome is insane, guys. The Chrome Dome's insane, and I have a good feeling. Yeah, we'll talk more on the Deadpool's Diner in. But yeah, I mean, dude, right off the bat, I'll say it. I know the 3-cost cards, you're always like, well, Surfer. I loved her in Surfer.
As of right now, just so you guys know, she's running approximately at recording a 59% win rate. And that's because she is feasting on Airsham gamers to the point that Airsham's play rate is going to come down. Once this card gets into more people's hands, it is just ridiculous. I'm getting like 18 power Cassandra Novas. Like I'm literally able to play like Darkhawk, Mystique, Cassandra Nova, and every lane has like 38 power in it.
No, it's ridiculous, man. Like when you see that little 20 next to their deck whenever you start the game, you're like, okay, I won.
Cassandra does not look like she likes anything clean.
Her backstory is disgusting.
I've kind of heard stories. I don't want to read the comments now. Thanks.
She's a massive cell on a sewer wall, guys. After a it's bad. Okay. Anyway, light discussion on Cassandra. We think she's cracked. We're going to talk about her in more extent over on Alex's side as well as Deadpool's Diner. Our thought on what was kind of the beginning of that to where it is now, and then the Snapchat mailbag. Thank you guys for hanging out. Have a good one. Have a great one. Till the next one. Happy snapping.